Facebook and its founder, Mark Zuckerberg, have been a controversial topic for a few years now. The social media platform has been accused of everything from selling user data and influencing elections to making us feel like we don't measure up in society. With the advent of rival platforms like Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram, is Facebook becoming a thing of the past? In today's video, we'll be discussing and debating the pros and cons of Facebook, the shady and controversial practices of Mark Zuckerberg, and how what started out as a way for us all to keep in touch with one another turned into what many people consider to be a necessary evil. Welcome to Intellectual Digest, your source for all things intelligent, nostalgic, bygone, and fun. Keep it here. Back in 2003, while attending Harvard University, Mark Zuckerberg built a website that he called FaceMash. FaceMash was similar to the site Hot or Not, which allowed users to rate the attractiveness of strangers. Yeah, it's just as shady as it sounds. Anyway, Mark and FaceMash compiled photos of fellow Harvard students from the university's online Facebook or yearbook, which placed two pictures next to each other, and users, all Harvard students, were asked to choose which student was hotter. A bit creepy if you ask me. FaceMash had 450 visitors and 22,000 photo views and votes in just its first 4 hours of existence. At that time, Harvard and many other universities had an online Facebook, which was a student directory of phone numbers and other personal information, including photos. The Facebook was accessible only to those Harvard students and Harvard administration. It should have stayed that way. Way back in the early 2000s, Harvard only had a paper, hard copy version of this Facebook, and private online directories. When interviewed about his actions, Mark told the Harvard Crimson student newspaper, "Everyone's been talking a lot about a universal Facebook within Harvard. I think it's kind of silly that it would take the university a couple years to get around to it. I can do it better than they can, and I can do it in a week." Mark was very cocky and self-assured, but luckily, the site was sent to several mailing lists on the Harvard campus and was shut down by Harvard administration. Mark was facing expulsion and was accused of breaching security, violating various copyrights, and violating the privacy of his fellow students. The charges were eventually dropped, somehow, and Mark continued to expand and grow FaceMash by turning it into a social study tool. Mark uploaded images and clip art, each one accompanied by a comment section, and the new, improved website was made available to his fellow students. However, just a few days after the site launched, some of Mark's fellow Harvard students, seniors Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss and Divya Narendra, accused Mark of lying to them about what FaceMash was going to be used for, and that they had been led to believe that Mark was going to help them build a student network called HarvardConnection.com. Cameron, Tyler, and Divya had first created Harvard Connection in December of 2002. The website's name was changed, and ConnectU launched on May 21, 2004. On ConnectU, Harvard students and users could add other users as friends, send messages, and update their personal profiles. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Users were also placed in networks based on the domain name that was associated with the email address they used for registration on the site. This was the beginning of the heated rivalry between Mark, the Winklevoss twins, and Divya Narendra, and it would only get hotter and uglier as time went on. The Winklevoss twins and Divya complained to the Harvard Crimson, and they began an investigation. In January of 2004, Mark created and coded a new website, which he called the Facebook. The name was taken from a Harvard Crimson editorial about FaceMash, which stated, "It's clear that the technology needed to create a centralized website is readily available. The benefits are many." This validated Mark and spurred him on even further. He met with fellow student Eduardo Saverin, and they each agreed to invest $1,000 into the new site. On February 4, 2004, Mark and Eduardo officially launched the Facebook, which was located at the site thefacebook.com. Social media had arrived. Were you a Harvard student or a user of the early Facebook or ConnectU? Intellectual Digest would love to hear from you. Within its first month of existence, over half of Harvard's undergraduates had registered for the Facebook. Dustin Moskovitz, Andrew McCollum, and Chris Hughes joined Mark on a new team that helped manage the growth and traffic of the new website. In March of 2004, the Facebook expanded to Columbia, Yale, and Stanford universities. Then, it became available at all the Ivy League colleges, as well as Boston University, NYU, MIT, and eventually, most colleges and universities in both the US and Canada were using the Facebook. Mark's invention, even though he had obviously stolen the idea, was taking off very quickly and changing the way college students communicated with one another. If only he knew just how massive his monster would become. In the middle of 2004, the co-founder of the music streaming site Napster, Sean Parker, who worked as a sort of informal advisor to Mark and his team, was hired as company president of the Facebook. In June of 2004, the company moved its base of operations to Palo Alto, California, most likely to be closer to Silicon Valley. Later that same month, PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel gave the Facebook its first investment. The following year, 2005, was when Facebook was officially unveiled to the masses. Mark and the company dropped "the" from the site's name after purchasing the domain name Facebook.com for $200,000 from About Face Corporation. I was young back then, and I remember people talking about this new thing called Facebook, where you could upload your picture and a profile and stay in touch with friends and family. We thought it was so cool and futuristic. In May of 2005, the company Accel Partners caught the Facebook bug and invested $12.7 million, and Jim Breyer, the chief executive officer of Breyer Capital, invested $1 million of his own money. In September of 2005, a version of Facebook for high schoolers was created. I remember when the principal at school told us that social media wasn't allowed on school property. At the same time, Facebook expanded eligibility to employees of other big tech companies like Apple Inc. and Microsoft. These companies actually wanted to help Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook in those early days. They had faith in Mark and believed that Facebook and future social networking sites could be a good thing. We all did. 2006 was yet another big year for Facebook. Mark hired his first intern, Julie Zhou. After only a month, Julie was made a full-time engineer. Then, on September 26, 2006, Facebook was officially made available to everyone who was at least 13 years old and had a valid email address. In May of 2007, at the first F8 Developers Conference, Facebook announced publicly that they had created the Facebook Developer Platform, which could provide a basis and framework to create new applications that could interact with the new Facebook features. One of these applications was Newsfeed. Newsfeed created a centralized stream on users' homepages where you could see all of your friends' posts and updates. This was the first complaint about Facebook. Suddenly, every single thing you did on Facebook was visible to everyone on your friends list, and maybe some people you weren't expecting. Now, it was almost impossible to have privacy online. Mark's reaction to these complaints was simply, "Calm down, breathe, we hear you." With that, these apps grew to an astounding 33,000, and the number of developers rose to 400,000. Facebook was taking the world by storm. Everybody, stay calm and breathe. By the end of 2007, Facebook had thousands of users, including 100,000 company and corporate pages. In November, those annoying Facebook ads and pages debuted, with Mark stating at an event that was attended by marketers, "For the last 100 years, media has been pushed out to people, but now marketers are going to be a part of the conversation." He was right. Facebook invited brands, whether the public wanted them or not, to have their own Facebook pages and therefore advertise to all users. Also, do you remember Beacon? Beacon was a short-lived Facebook app that appeared in 2007 and was a place where businesses could share information with Facebook about what customers were buying. As you can guess, Beacon was hugely unpopular and was taken down and removed for good in 2009. Even after that, Mark and Facebook still won some prestigious awards that year, including a place on the list of top 100 classic websites by PC Magazine and the People's Voice Award at the Webby Awards. However, around the same time, in 2008, Mark's old enemies, the Winklevoss twins and Divya Narendra, sued him for stealing their idea. Mark, the Winklevoss twins, and Divya settled their dispute for 1.2 million shares, which were worth $300 million. For their part, Mark and Facebook were forced to pay $65 million to end the case altogether. But the lawsuit didn't stop Mark and his crew from becoming one of the most profitable and influential websites of the decade. Mark also tried to get into the good graces of the public by appointing women to high-profile positions. Mark had met Google executive Sheryl Sandberg at a party in Silicon Valley in 2007, and he enlisted Sheryl's help and expertise in transforming Facebook even further. Sheryl had been a Treasury Department staffer who, to this day, serves as Chief Operating Officer of Facebook and Mark's ambassador in Washington. She's grown Facebook ads into the obnoxious nuisance it is today. As we've stated previously, Facebook insists that it doesn't sell information, but that's obviously a lie. Towards the end of the 2000s, Facebook Platform and Facebook Connect both launched, which allowed users to log into other websites with their Facebook username and password. I'll admit that this is pretty handy. A couple of years later, Platform and Connect merged to form Graph API, which only served to enable developers and advertisers to spy on and get more data from users and their friends. If I had $1 for every time I shopped or searched for something on another site, and later had an ad for just that item on my Facebook page, I would be very rich. Do you hate Facebook ads as much as I do? In July of 2008, Facebook Beta was introduced. Facebook Beta included a significant, major design change in Facebook's user interface. The mini feed and wall were organized and consolidated, user profiles were separated into tabbed sections, and the website was given an overall cleaner, more streamlined look. The latest version of Facebook was in full swing by September of 2008. At this time, I thought there would never be a better way to communicate with my family and friends who lived far away. When did you first start using Facebook? Tell us in the comments section after the video. Mark and Facebook announced the opening of international headquarters in Dublin, Ireland in October of 2008. In January of 2009, a study on Compete.com ranked Facebook as the most popular and most used social networking service by worldwide regular users. Not long after, the Chinese government blocked Facebook following the Urumqi riots. In the fall of 2009, the infamous like button was unveiled. It was like a whole new social currency. The like button has done nothing more than to feed our constant human need for validation. Every post is turned into a popularity contest, and Facebook likes it that way. Our likes also influence advertising and corporate decisions, and they've even become informal poll tests for politics and presidential elections. Facebook happily announced that they saw positive cash flow for the first time in their short history. The next decade looked promising for Facebook and its followers. The 2010s started off well enough for Facebook. At the start of the decade, in 2010, Facebook was awarded TechCrunch's Crunchy Award for Best Overall Startup or Product Award for the third consecutive year. By the summer of 2010, Facebook could boast a whopping 500 million users, reporting that half of those users used the platform daily for an average of 34 minutes, and 150 million users used the site on mobile devices. In an article for The Guardian in July of 2010, Richard Allen, Facebook's head of policy in Europe, hailed this milestone as a quiet revolution. He went on, "We're well positioned for the world beyond the broadband-connected PC." Those would prove to be prophetic words. Soon, Facebook would be taking over our lives as we knew them. We were on the edge of a golden world of technology and innovation. It was around this same time that Facebook had to start defending itself for the ever-changing privacy terms which exposed the personal data of Facebook users to the rest of the internet, something that Facebook is still being accused of to this day. The site kept growing relentlessly, even going so far as to create its own currency for games and other apps. Facebook started making a lot of money off those pesky freemium purchases. Even more conspicuously, Facebook also started to profit from revenue from ads and transactions, which monitored or spied on Facebook users' private data and posts. This is one of the most common complaints of Facebook users to this day, that in reality, there is no privacy, and that our social media posts are watched by advertisers who exploit and manipulate our activity online in order to create and sell ad revenue. We'll have more on that to come. February of 2011 saw even more big announcements and changes. Facebook announced their plans to move headquarters to Old Sun Microsystems campus in Menlo Park, California. The next month, Facebook caused an uproar, yet again, when it removed about 20,000 profiles per day for such violations as spam, graphic or explicit content, and underage users. This was all an effort to increase cybersecurity, But this mini scandal only made Facebook more popular. The month of June 2011 saw 1 trillion Facebook page views. Yes, you heard that right, 1 trillion. This made Facebook the most visited website, according to DoubleClick, an internet ad-serving company. Overall, in 2011, Facebook was the second most visited website next to Google. As can be expected, there's usually plenty of bad news to follow when it comes to a company that has grown so quickly in such a short period of time. The Federal Trade Commission began investigating Facebook in the early 2010s due to those privacy practices. The company was forced to sign a consent decree in which they actually promised not to misrepresent their users' privacy and security settings. Facebook also promised to ask for and receive consent before changing those settings. The FTC investigation came to light a few years later, when they threatened to levy yet another fine on Facebook for the violation, where Facebook would be required to pay $476 billion. Wow! In 2012, Facebook created the App Center, which stored the apps that ran on the site. App Center was made available on the brand new iPhones, Androids, and anyone accessing the web on their phones. Even though 2013 saw the rise of Facebook stocks and global recognition, the new features Facebook Graph Search and Facebook Home were under fire, due to more accusations of data sharing, even though Facebook insisted that the features were privacy aware. Yeah, right. The logo was changed minutely, and Facebook answered back to the critics by forming an alliance with 19 U.S. states and the National Association of Attorneys General, which was meant to provide resources to teenagers and their parents with tools to help manage their social media profiles. Soon, after a campaign that consisted of 100 advocacy groups, Facebook was forced to update their policy on hate speech. This was in 2013. The campaign shone a light on content and posts that highlighted and promoted domestic and sexual violence against women, which caused 15 advertisers to withdraw their ads from Facebook. This included Nissan UK, House of Burlesque, and Nationwide UK. But the problem of social media abuse was anything but over. Facebook even joined the Alliance for Affordable Internet, and they proudly celebrated the company's 10th anniversary in 2014. In October of 2014, Mark participated in a Q&A session and interview with Tsinghua University in Beijing, China, where he, very poorly, attempted to speak Mandarin and visited politician Lu Wei, who's known as the Internet Czar. Facebook was doing everything it could to earn a positive reputation, but nothing could save Facebook from all the bad press and scandals. In the last decade, the general consensus around Facebook just keeps getting worse. For those of us who've been using Facebook for a long time, it seems like Facebook tries too hard to be many things at once, whereas Snapchat is just for messaging, and TikTok is for short videos. Facebook has added features in order to be everything to everyone, which only makes the platform confusing, messy, and difficult to use. Am I the only one who feels this way? In addition to all of those privacy concerns, Facebook is guilty of data breaches, which have caused even more users' personal and private information to be released on other sites, leaving us all to feel like we can't trust Facebook. The most recent data breach was in 2021, when over 500 million people had their personal data leaked. As of 2015, things only got worse. Facebook revised its algorithm in a poorly planned attempt to filter false, misleading, and negative content, including fake news, hoaxes, and conspiracy theories. Obviously, it didn't work. The algorithm only created what's known as a filter bubble, where anything that a user disagrees with or doesn't like is deprioritized. In November of 2015, Facebook extended their maternity leave for employees from 4 weeks to 4 months. Facebook also began to be accused of tax evasion, and concerns over the company's electricity usage and real name user requirement policy also began to come under scrutiny. We've discussed previously how Facebook can be destructive for your self-esteem. Studies have shown that many people absolutely hate Facebook because it can be seriously addictive. The site has been designed to keep users engaged and online for long periods of time. On top of that, you're constantly bombarded with notifications, new post alerts, and those annoying ads. We have all made excuses to use Facebook, including the ability to remember important dates like birthdays and anniversaries, the need to have Facebook in order to log on to other platforms, or maybe you want to use Messenger or Instagram, which, by the way, are owned by Facebook. You may also feel that Facebook allows you to stay in touch with friends and family members, or people you know in your hometown, and you don't want to cut those familial and community ties. Maybe you'd like to create a digital time capsule. Many high school and college students have used Facebook to communicate with professors and classmates, and to coordinate meetings and projects. Facebook does everything it can to keep you coming back for more. It's truly a necessary evil. During the 2016 presidential election, and even before, Facebook was overrun with fake news. So much information from so many political sources and angles is shared on the platform daily, and there's little to no censorship. It's very hard to tell the difference between truth and fiction, and this leads to a lot of conspiracy theories and false claims. Do you get your news from Facebook? Always be sure to use discretion if you do. Of course, one of the biggest problems with Facebook is its impact on users' mental health. Facebook is a breeding ground for negativity, social pressure, and life comparisons to others. Facebook has led to many feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, loneliness, unneeded stress, marital problems, and depression. Children and teenagers have been bullied on Facebook to the point that they've taken their own lives. Studies have even proven that Facebook and other social media platforms can lead to increased feelings of anxiety and depression. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Facebook was used to spread false information about the coronavirus, which was made even worse by the outrageous claims of President Donald Trump. So much so that he was banned from the site for 2 years. What a time. Facebook can also be to blame for playing a role in allowing and inciting hate speech and behavior into violent acts, as in the cases of the Myanmar genocide and the January 6th insurrection in 2021. Many critics have accused Facebook of not doing enough to stop the spread of hate speech and doctrine, and allowing bigotry to go on unchecked. Have you ever taken a break from Facebook or any other social media? Did you ever go back? We look forward to hearing from you. On that final note, thank you so much for logging on to Intellectual Digest today. Thank you for continuing to watch and listen, and as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Also, please tell your friends and family about the channel, and share us on Facebook if you want to. Intellectual Digest is always looking for suggestions for content, so tell us what we should talk about in upcoming videos. I'll see you all next time on Intellectual Digest. Have an intellectual, relevant day.